Coming to you live from the Cross Country Mortgage Campus in Berea, Ohio. This is Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet. Now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Fawcett Stadium in Canton, Ohio, and the 1999 Hall of Fame game. The wait is over. Browns football is back underway.
45-40, run, William, run! 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown!
Steps, fires, and picked off! They got it! Is this how it feels? Is this how it feels to win? Count it down, everybody. The Browns are winners tonight. 35-40, 45-50, there goes Chubb! He's to the 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown! Chubb on the hub! Toss sweep, near side. Here comes Chubb in the cutback. He's out to the 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Here he goes to the 50. Here goes Chubb. He's going to go. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Nick Chubb. He's got a hat trick. He's going for Landry down by the end zone. A tumbling catch for a touchdown. What a catch by Landry. He bobbles it, stumbles. He got hit and he got sacked. He got sacked. Peppers got him. He got him. Peppers got him. Pour a little pepper on it. It's Denzel Ward. 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown. The Browns will get their 11th win of the year. They'll go to 11-5, and they're going to the playoffs. And the only thing that's missing, all of you. That's it. The Browns are going to the playoffs. The postseason is back in Cleveland.
Here are your hosts, Bo Bishop and Nathan Zagura.
All right, let's do a live. You listen to that, Merely Bo, the Great Z, and we've had a lot of fun this training camp with the hey,
come on.
The opposite of that was that last clip where he goes, "That's it," and he looked around at all of you guys. Welcome in, special edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. It has been a very difficult 18 hours in the Ohio sporting community, and we thought we were not going to do this today. We were not supposed to, but we talked yesterday and thought it was best for us to. I know you've done a coach's show, and I know that you've done some television stuff as well, and you have such a special relationship with Jim because of the time that you guys spent together. But he became, on this show, when you think about referring to him as the voice and the way that we got to know him and the playful nature that we had with him through the years, this show wouldn't have – he's such a key element of what this has been since you and I have done this show together. And that was hard. Listening, I mean, I just can't imagine a Browns game without him calling it.
I know.
Quite honestly. I know we had to do it last year because he was through some stuff, and you guys are just such true pros, but he's just the quintessential voice you want to hear when you hear the Cleveland Browns.
He is the voice of the Browns, and he will, to me, and I think to many, many, many people listening today, always be the voice of the Cleveland Browns. Did it for 25 years at a level that is as elite gets, and when people have been talking to me, and so many people have reached out, and the support for Jim on social media is awesome everywhere I've gone since this news has come out. People are giving their support, and the reason is it's not that he's an iconic broadcaster. It's not that he's just the voice of the Browns. It's not just that he's probably the best play-by-play guy in his industry. It's because all of those accolades pale in comparison to the accolades he deserves as a human being.
That's right. He
is such a wonderful man. He is such a great partner. He welcomed me in after, after Doug Deacon retired, a legend that he had been with for decades, and welcomed me in like he had always wanted to work with me, and made me feel that way, and was so helpful and such a mentor. And he's so nice to everybody. He has no ego. He is just a great guy, and getting to be on the road with him and break bread with him and learn about him and hear his stories. And he's such a special person. And I think, his legacy as the voice of the Browns, obviously, it speaks for itself, but I think it's his legacy as a person, obviously as a husband to Cheryl, a father to Megan, a friend to those lucky enough to be friends with him. That's really kind of what, Jim Donovan is all about. And I actually got a chance to talk to him today. He called me today after he had texted me earlier in the week and kind of let me know what was going on. And he called me today, and, it started off like heartbreaking in a sense. I know how much I was looking forward to calling Browns games with him this year. He was looking forward to it more than people can possibly imagine. And so when you understand that he knows that he cannot do that because of the battle that is ongoing, that tells you the severity of what we're dealing with here. And it started off with us kind of both sad, and I was crying a little bit, and then by the middle of the conversation, it was kind of like we're having a normal talk, and by the end we were laughing. And I shared with him how special that time at the Greenbrier was, and we lived with him for 9 days, in the same room, under the same roof. We hung out in that common room, and when we were in Seattle, it's funny, I was saying, man, I wish we were back at the Greenbrier so we could all just kind of be together, and walking out of my room and hearing him on the couch calling Obo Okoronkwo, getting a big sack on a third down, because he was just constantly doing play-by-play. It's what he lived for. And I don't know how many people know this about Jim, but when he was a kid, he would go to the Boston Garden with a tape recorder and a microphone, and he would do play-by-play of the Celtics and the Bruins. And he would then send those, and I think Johnny Most was the play-by-play guy of the Celtics at the time, and he would send them the tapes, and they would send him back feedback. I mean, when you talk about somebody who knew what they wanted to do from a young age and then realized their dream and did it at the highest level, calling Olympics, voice of the Browns, NBC, all of it, calling NFL games even before being the voice of the Browns. I mean, I think it's one of his first games, I think it was with Chris Collinsworth, or maybe it was Collinsworth's first game was with with Jim. To have had that be like, this is who I am as a kid, and then to see the joy that it brought him, which was still very kid-like, and I mean that in the best possible way, because he was living the dream. You're coaching the players like, but we're playing a kid's game, and then to get to narrate that was such a dream for him. By the end, we were just laughing and reminiscing about just the times that we had together. And I told him, hey, come on. I go, I said, nobody's ever going to think of Colin Jost the same ever again, which he got a big kick of. And then the hey, come on. And I told him, I was like, when Brock, our intern, left, I said, in my card, he had drawn, and I did it to him too, but hey, come on, with, the thumbs and everything. But he is in good spirits. He is going to fight and make the most of everything that he can, and I think that all we can do is love and support him, and for people who pray for him. But he is a very, very special man, and while he can't be the voice, he still is that very, very special man, and he's somebody that will be a part of everything. You talked about the show. I mean, you talking to him about what's going on at the Ponderosa. I mean, all of it. He is an icon, and I know that the letter has been out there, and I don't know if we want to go through that again, but people have read that. You've seen the statement from the Haslams, and I can tell you as a representative of the Cleveland Browns that Jim Donovan is a Cleveland Brown, and it says that's the last line of the Haslams. We will support him in every way possible, and Jim Donovan will forever be a Cleveland Brown, and
he'll forever be the voice.
Forever the voice. Listen, the fact of the matter is, there's his letter there. I'll just read it to you. Hey, Browns fan, and you can hear him. You can hear it.
When I saw it yesterday, I broke right away because I can hear him.
Of course.
I hear his voice reading it.
Of course. He said, hello, Browns fans everywhere. Well, the regular season is finally here. Can you imagine the atmosphere inside Browns Stadium when the Cowboys and Browns kick it off? It will be electric. It will be epic. Unfortunately, I will not be calling the game on the Browns radio network. I have called my last Browns game, and that's why I'm writing to you. As many of you know, I've been dealing with cancer for many years. I've gone through every treatment imaginable, but my cancer is a defiant opponent and has returned, and very aggressively. This will require me to devote everything I have in me to continue the fight, and my family and I are committed to doing that. I've called Browns games for 25 years. Not a day has gone by when I haven't paused and been so proud to be the voice of the Browns. Cheryl, Megan, and I thank you for all the love, support, and prayers during my rough patches. It's like having a huge family around us, and that's what makes the Cleveland Browns so special. You do. Now let's go get those Cowboys and make this 24-25 season a great one. I'll be watching and listening. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. It's been an honor. Jim Donovan. And I'm just, after reading that, and I'm reminded of the year in COVID, and I was on the sidelines. I was not in the booth that year. And when the Browns clinched the playoffs, he gave what I thought was the most iconic call, and you could see him get even emotional when he did it. And I'm pretty sure it was in that video package. Yeah. You know, the only thing missing is all of you. And I feel now when we go to do, you know, games this season that the only thing missing will be Jim.
Yeah. So I married a Cleveland girl, and when I first met her family and we were talking about what I did for a living, and I've told Jim this story. Her dad said, "Well, you got to be like Jim Donovan."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, I didn't know who he was. I wasn't from Ohio. I had no point of reference on it." And the first time I went to a Browns game, he would bring the radio, and we would sit in the seats, and you would listen. It was like he brought one for me, and we would sit there.
This is
and
how
we would
it's
listen.
done.
This is how you do it. You have this, and you put this in, and you listen to Jim, and that's the way that it goes. Just the voice of it, right? And I immediately took to it and just would listen to all of it and consume all of it. And in the time I was a sportscaster, so I would see how he do sportscasts at Channel 3, and I would try to emulate some of the things. One thing that's really important if you're doing this business is you have to be authentic to you. You have to be who you are. If you try to put on a facade or you try to put on a shtick, the shtick, it runs dry.
Yeah, you can't
So you have to be you. You have to be authentically you. And Jim Donovan was always authentically him, and I took that from him as a lesson. And in 2015, it was my last week on television down in Columbus, and the Browns were down there. It was Terrell Pryor. It was in August of 2015. It was Terrell Pryor's first time back at Ohio Stadium since he was, banished from campus, and the whole team was down there. And it was the last live shot that I ever did in Columbus for the CBS affiliate. It was the last one I ever did, and I was doing the live shot, and Jim was down there, and I got done doing it, and he started walking towards me, and I thought, well, he can't possibly be coming to talk to me. I don't know him. I don't know Jim. I mean, I know who he is. There's no way he knows who I am. And he came up to me, and he said, "You're Bo." And I said, "Yeah, and you're Jim. I'm very well aware of who you are." And he goes, "I just got to tell you," which you can hear him say, I just got to tell you. I just got to tell you, that Buckeye Blitz show you do on Sports Time Ohio is really good. And I went, folks, it was like God telling me.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what that meant to me, to have him say that he enjoyed something I was doing, because while I did not grow up here, and while I did not have that relationship with him from the time I was a kid, as so many of you did, what I did have was this absurd appreciation of him from the time that I met my wife's family, and that only grew. And so for him to say he liked something I did, it blew my mind. And I was honestly, it was just humbling. It's just incredible that he said that. And then we got to know him. And I remember when he announced that, I think it was last year when he announced that, right after
the
Cincinnati game
on the broadcast.
And I can't remember if we had him on right after, or if that was one of the other times that god-awful disease attacked him. But he came on, and the first thing I said to him was, "So what's going on at the Ponderosa? How are the ponies? What are we doing with hay? What's the water situation?" That type of thing. And he just, huge laugh. Mm-hmm. And I remember Gibby saying afterwards how much that meant to him. And I knew that it would mean that to him, because what you're looking for in those things when you're in the middle of these fights is any bit of normalcy that you can have. And so that was something I remember well. And I think the one thing that we all know, and you all know as the fans and the organization, everybody, for the majority of the 25 years that Jim Donovan was the voice of the Cleveland Browns, it was a tough gig.
Yeah.
The wins did not come. for decades. They did not come. We've been a very good organization since 2018 and have been consistently pretty good for that entire run. But prior to that, it was some really tough sledding. And as a Browns fan, Jim Donovan was your constant. And the highest form of praise that I could ever give him is he would call meaningless, and they were meaningless, late-season Browns games as if he were calling the 27 Yankees. Mm-hmm. His preparation and his performance was if he was calling the greatest team in the history of football. It is human nature to, if you're calling something that does not deliver the results, it is human nature to say, oh, who cares? What's the difference? He never did that once, man.
No.
Not once in all those lean years. To approach every game that way.
Oh, I got to hear it on the sidelines.
I know you
listened
did.
To every second of it.
But
yeah.
I mean, I was in awe of that.
I will say that his commercial break commentary was probably better. Was probably better than what was going out on the air, which was at a very high level. So he got it too. I mean, and that's the thing. Jim Donovan, he would tell you the truth. You would know how he felt and where he was, but the professionalism was there. It was funny when you were talking about how he came up and told you what a good job you had done with that Buckeye Blitz show and how much that meant to you. And when I got the great honor and responsibility to join him in the booth, obviously I cared about what, all the fans thought of the job I did. I cared about, what my friends and family thought. I cared obviously what the Browns thought of it. But the reality was, in my mind, I had an audience of one. Mm-hmm. And what I really cared about was that Jim Donovan felt that I did a good job and that I was playing my role, which was very much to be second fiddle to Jim Donovan, that I was playing that in the way that he was happy with and that he thought was good and added value to the broadcast. And that was really kind of my goal. And he very quickly, he helped me with feedback and then very quickly gave me that validation, and that meant the world to me and allowed me, I think, to be more comfortable and just be me on the broadcast. And then I have to think about it, and then we had such a great rapport. But it's not often that you want to be you want to do something, right? Like you want to call games, or you want to be a TV broadcaster, a sports guy, sports anchor, where you get the opportunity to then work with the person that you consider to be kind of the role model in your industry, and then they end up being even nicer and more generous and more gregarious and more helpful and more inspirational than you could ever imagine. And, you can feel our passion for Jim right now. You go back to the game where he comes back and we beat the Steelers and he smashes the guitar. Not a dry eye in the house. I mean, he means so much to. And it's amazing. He's not a Clevelander, and yet he is part of the fabric of Cleveland and will always be. And it's because he has that shared passion that all of you have. He has that love for this football team and for this region and for this city that has become his home, and in many ways that he has become the voice of. When you're the voice of the Cleveland Browns, you're not just the voice of Cleveland, you're really the voice of Cleveland. You're the voice of Northeast Ohio, and we talked about the world's team. He's the voice of the biggest sports fan base in the world. And that is an incredibly powerful thing, and nobody has ever done it with the aplomb that he has, and he's just awesome. I love Jim. I told him that today. And I am just so lucky that I was able to be in the booth with him and be there for that Steelers game. Was one of the most special days of his life. I know that. And to be there when he said, that's it. We're going back. The playoffs are back. The postseason is back in Cleveland. He's such a special guy. And it's, I still, am in my mind, I'm like, all right, we're going to somehow this team is going to rally around so many things, and this is going to be one of them, and we're going to hoist the Lombardi, and somehow Jim's going to be a part of it. That's my North Star right now, because I love this man, and he deserves it, and I know how much he loves all of you who are listening, and how much he loved being able to be the voice of the Cleveland Browns.
They say you don't always want to meet your heroes because they'll only disappoint. In this instance, that is not the case.
Absolutely not.
Anybody who crossed paths with Jim is better for it. We're going to take a quick timeout. Coach had some thoughts on Jim as well. And again, as I mentioned, we can do this now. I mean, tragedy down in Columbus this morning as well. Hockey player Johnny Gaudreau and his brother last night in New Jersey were riding bikes, and a drunk driver killed them both.
Killed them
simultaneously. I knew Johnny a little. If you're not a hockey person, you may not know, but my guess is you'd probably have heard the name Johnny Hockey, and that's who he was. It's just senseless, stupid tragedy. And to add to it, it was the day before his sister's wedding is when it happened. His sister was to be married today, so his brother and him both pass last night. He leaves two sisters. He leaves a mother and a father, his brother Matthew and him, who both perished. He leaves a wife and two children under 2. So our thoughts and prayers go to our professional sports friends down in Columbus with the Blue Jackets, and everyone mourning that as well. It has been a very difficult time.
And I just want to say, in light of in what you're talking about, and I've mentioned it on the show before, but one of the things that I get to do outside of this building is I'm on the board for a charity called Cornerstone of Hope. Mm-hmm. And their mission is no one grieves alone. They do very incredibly important work for people who have gone through these unfathomable tragedies. And what's happened down in Columbus, obviously, or it happened in New Jersey, but to the Columbus Blue Jackets family, is one of those unspeakable tragedies that we hear about because it's a public figure.
Correct.
These things happen all the time. And if you know anybody, and Cornerstone of Hope actually does have an office in Columbus, but anybody who's listening, if you're ever going through anything where you are unfortunately in one of those, but it happens almost in the silence because you're not necessarily a public figure, it's very much the center of your world, reach out to Cornerstone of Hope. They will take care of you. They will help you, and that's why they're there, to make sure no one ever grieves alone and that you have the tools to be able to deal with the things that are unspeakable and unfathomable. So I just know that there are things out there that can't change what happened, but can help you deal with some of the things in Cornerstone of Hope. I'm so proud to be on the board. They do such important work, and this reminds you all the time that people need this all the time. We hear about some because people are public figures, but these things happen all the time, and it's so sad. But people do not have to go through it alone.
Well said, brother. Well said. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Boost your game day this season with Bally Bet Sportsbook app. Place your first bet of $50 or more, and you get $150 back in bonus bets. Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. So last night you did the coaches show and had a chance to talk to Coach Stefanski about Jim, and so let's have a listen to that.
Coach, obviously, very sad news today with Jim Donovan's cancer returning, and unfortunately will have to step down as the voice of the Cleveland Browns. Just what has he meant to you, and anything you'd like to say to him and his family at this time?
Yeah, I'm gutted, just like our fan base is feeling, and how you and I are feeling, and the people that know Jim are feeling. It's tough, and you know, we're going to be there with him, you know, every step of the way. But it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. So I'm thinking about Cheryl and Megan and Jim through this, and he knows, and I've told him he's got our full support. We're behind him 100%, and I know that I'm going to get him out to the facility at some point and make sure he sees us, and so we can tell him to his face how much he means to us. But yeah, it's hard for any of us to think about somebody that we know, somebody that we love, going through something tough like this.
That's really, really well. Yeah, here's the thing. Like,
he's been phenomenal throughout this entire thing with Jim Donovan.
Correct.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. The sports is kind of the last escape that we have in American life. It really is. It's the last thing that you can go to and have pure joy, and that you can, no matter what's going on in your life, the hardships or whatever. And so when the things that give us joy then become the things that provide us sorrow or rethinking or contemplating, such as this, the idea that Jim's not going to be the voice of the Browns, it hits because it's a family. Yeah. It's a huge family, but it is a family.
It's part of your routine. I mean, I know so many people who turned the TV down and put the radio on to hear Jim describe the action.
Yep.
And nobody did it better. As my friend Beatbox said, he paints a rich tapestry, and he most certainly does. Or weaves a rich tapestry. Yeah,
it's the using Johnny Most. Like you think of like these iconic voices, these Vin Scullys, these Marty Brennemans, like these people that have been around, Jack Buck. These guys are around forever. Like Jim was that for Cleveland. That's absolutely what he is. He's that. He also apparently provided some dance. There was some dancing I missed?
No. Okay, so in that video that they posted, while you'd get emotional listening to Jim on my probably third watch of it or fourth, I happened to notice this gem, and I would like you all to just watch Jason Gibbs. Give it to me one week. Yeah, just keep it on a loop.
Look at Spano loving it too.
Spano's loving it.
Gibby's
loving it.
Gibby's loving
Others
it.
are not quite as some are nonplussed.
Deke.
It's really an incredible video. Oh, Gibby, I love it.
Fun.
The great Spano, miss him too.
We used to come up with like little things that we would do in the background, but like it was. It just didn't have to be. We didn't want to take the spotlight away from what was going on, and yet I don't remember doing that.
Sure,
and clearly I did in the moment.
I was
like, "Hey Jeff, you could have picked like 40 different."
No, that's the right one. That was the right one.
And
that's the right one.
That's the one you picked.
Here's the thing with doing this job or doing the job that you guys do on Sundays when you're calling games. It's a tightrope without a net, and the emotion is raw because you're doing it live. I always start the show, let's do it live on a whatever. Yeah. It is live. It's funny. I just had a conversation with a buddy of mine. He's like, "So are you really live at that time?" Yeah. That's live. Whatever we say now, there's no net for it.
It's live.
It's live. And in sport, what you get there, that is a honest live reaction to what happened in that moment. It's beautiful.
I mean, the first game I ever did with Jim Donovan. Well, the first game I ever did in the United States of America with Jim Donovan was Katie York's 58-yard, and I'm like, ah! It makes like some absurd sound in the middle.
After I spent 7 months telling him, don't lachey.
Well, number one, didn't lachey. I mean, it was like a guttural sound. Number two, it was raw emotion, and number three, the last time that I ever made any peep. Even
you didn't talk, to be fair.
Yeah,
you did not overstep. You just had an audible.
And he knew it. He met me at the bus that day. I was like, dude, I did exactly what you told me not to.
Well, he looked at you in it, and I remember the video of it. You look at him in it, and you're like, you learned,
I couldn't believe he made a 58-yard field goal. It's unbelievable. That didn't happen for the Browns at that time. You know what I mean?
No. No.
Yeah, but that was so funny. It also reminds me of, now that the camera's in there, you never know what you're going to see. The one, do you remember when I think we had a touchdown, Gibbe, and Jim's making this awesome call, and I like fist pump, and I basically break my hand on the ceiling, and so then I'm in pain, and I'm like trying not to talk, and I'm shaking out my head, and I can't make a sound.
And we're dying laughing.
Oh my goodness!
Because everybody saw it in the back row.
That's somewhere too. We played that clip before too.
Which game was it when you?
I don't remember.
Do you remember?
I remember.
It was last year.
Last year. I punched the ceiling, and I was, and I suffered in silence.
Oh, that is great. That is great. So in terms of what's coming up here on the program for you, you're going to be treated to our Dogs Only podcast. So you're going to get Rodney McLeod and the Specialist. You get a little bit of that going on. That's going to carry you through a little bit, and we hope you enjoy that. We think that you will. Go ahead.
It's very fun.
Yeah, they're fun.
I mean, they talk about credit card roulette on the road. They talk about what they do in their off season, how they got to where they are, and there's 4 unique personalities. And people go, specialists. What do they offer?
No.
They're the most entertaining kids.
Why do you think we had Cole in here?
Yeah,
exactly.
Cole, the great Cole.
They're the most entertaining.
They are.
I mean,
the first time Britton came in here and we did the Cole thing and Rocky Talks, Way of Life, like all of it, and we were like, we want those guys always.
Yeah. Njoku makes an appearance
Give us
in this.
those guys always. Yeah, they always win.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Someday we're going to be hanging with Cole in watercolor.
I can't wait. Going to be a lot of fun. All right, so you have that to look forward to here over the next hour and a half, which
Gentlemen,
is very,
I
very
appreciate you coming in today.
That's a no-brainer. Absolute no-brainer. And
have a good holiday weekend.
Yeah, everybody have a good
hug your loved ones and be safe. Be safe this holiday weekend. And next week we'll do a game week. It'll be that type of thing. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Belly Bet, sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, and live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland.